Lamzu shocked the community with the launch of their debut mouse, the Atlantis, which in some sort of anime redemption arc was not just more of Shenzhen's finest e-waste, but was an absolute top tier option for anyone who'd been out in the desert thirsting after a wireless XM1. That's before Endgame Gear blessed us with the WE and absolutely cooked it. So for their latest release, the Mini, Lamzu have dived further into the depths of Atlantis and come back with something I think you'll find truly special. Shocking nobody, I think, the Lamzu Atlantis Mini is for the most part, well, the same old Atlantis, but mini. And if you want to know my thoughts on the full size before we dive into the fun size, there's a link somewhere on the screen for Big Pimpin' Uwu Atlantis right here. The Atlantis Mini is part of a growing trend of companies dropping shrunk down small boy versions of their mice, with the likes of Pulsar, finalmouse and now Lamzu paving the way. I mean, it just makes good business sense, as designing a new shape bags you 2 mouse releases rather than 1, suiting hand sizes from Shaquille O'Neal to God Emperor Trump.
The most beautiful hands.
I have to say, as a fingertip player and degenerate peripheral enthusiast, the more small, rigid objects I get the opportunity to wrap my digits around, the better. I'll toss the dimensions of the Mini up on the screen now, but spoilers, it's still only $90 using a $33.95 sensor, but it's around 5% smaller in every measurable direction, which my smooth brain figured that it would probably make it 5% lighter, right? Well, this tiny warhead has apparently had some nips and tucks in other areas, coming in at a super impressive 49 grams, whilst keeping the solid shell, making it almost 12% lighter than the OG Uwu Atlantis here. Can we get some quick drive-by Fs in chat for the folks? $280 lighter after a 49 gram Viper pegging from Razer.
What's wrong with you, bro? What the heck? You tripping, bro? You tripping?
This minor tweak to size and weight reduction opens the mouse up from a claw-centric offering to a much more viable mouse for fingertip, hybrid claw and everything in between. Though aside from the obvious scaled down body, what else has changed with the Mini? Unboxing is the same over-engineered experience you had with the full size and comes with the same amount of bundled in extras. At this point, you cannot convince me that G-Wolves and Lamzu aren't in some sort of pack-in arms race for who can stuff more crap into their Beijing pinata of a mouse box. I mean, just look at this. Just look at it. Everything. I mean, personally, I would rather have the mouse just a few dollars cheaper than celebrate the fabled Chinese year of the pack-in with all of the extras that we get in these boxes. Unlike the OG Atlantis, whose assembled colourways kind of look like the Pride Parade Avengers squad, our little guy is only available in the classic Donald Duck drip of navy and white. It's not an unattractive mouse though, and Lamzu thankfully kept their branding limited for a clean aesthetic. The Mini actually makes some smart tweaks to deliver a more refined and polished version of the Atlantis than the full size, with more base cutouts and 4 smaller corner skates rather than the 2 on the larger version. At risk of getting in my feels about mouse skates, Lamzu seem to have their own enthusiast stash because they continue to use core pad level products here. I'm also pleased to say that they've circumcised the ugly little plastic foreskin that the original had shrouding its USB-C connector, making the mouse not only look cleaner, but much less likely to snag the mousepad on vertical movement. Disappointingly, for my own meme material, there's really not much more to roast on this mouse from a user experience perspective. The scroll wheel is tactile and silent, the side buttons are the same size as you find in the OG, so are proportionally larger here, and as such are easier to find. The Huanu blue shell pink dot switches used in the clicks continue to be nothing short of legendary, feeling less like a mouse click, more like some ASMR bubble wrap popping. Just sensual. Look at it. The only real build issue, if you want to call it that I had was a slightly stretched hole for storing the little dongle butt plug in the base, which, unlike the tighter OG, if I wasn't careful, was very easy to push too far and end up with an embarrassing trip to the emergency room with some serious explaining to do. It also has software. It does software stuff. You can change settings on the mouse. It's really, really exciting. So exciting, in fact, that I am going to skip the segment on the software entirely. Shape-wise, I think it wears its Endgame Gear XM1 inspiration pretty shamelessly on its sleeve. But I guess if you're going to clone and scale alternatives of a mouse, you could do far worse than the XM1, which is pretty universally heralded as the claw grip goat. In fact, Heckin Tens himself has often claimed that the XM1 is his favourite shape of all time. That's a complimentary reference for those of you who are probably young enough to be one of my high school mistakes.
Wasn't me.
Instead of poorly attempting to go into house gaming levels of deeply European shape analysis, I'm going to break it down for you the Get Reviews way. Just like Ludacris once said, face down, ass up, that's the way we like to design mice at Lamzu apparently. It's for gamers who want a low, snouty front end with aggressive, sloping buttons and a pronounced e-girl booty to pertly sink into your palm. These characteristics are what makes the XM1 likes speak to claw grip players who above all else desire a mouse thicker than a bowl of oatmeal. Where the Mini is unique amongst the ways of clones, and to be fair, Endgame Gear's own wireless offering, is taking that mouse design ethos and basing it on a fiery Bronx 411 Latina. The shape is still there, but everything is scaled down to fit smaller grips. In fact, as soon as I started gaming on the Mini, honestly, any petty complaints I had about the mouse nerd small stuff frankly melted away, and I had a fantastic time with it. Almost all of my play was done in Overwatch 2, but I found it to be a more than capable mouse across pretty much any gameplay scenario you could throw at it. Unlike a lot of other small mice, it retained its wide breathable hips, which helped stability when tracking on heroes like Soldier 76. The small footprint meant that rapid micro adjustments and target swapping with single shot hit scan heroes was also a much easier task than trying to do the same thing on the full size Atlantis. I mean, even with larger hands at 20 by 10 centimeters, I had no issues using this mouse for extended sessions with no cramping, and it was more than comfortable. And I think that's probably a good transition to start wrapping how I feel about little Lanty and where I think she fits in the 2023 mouse landscape. Honestly, I think if you're looking at the full size Atlantis now, the elephant in the room is the budget XM1 wireless from the Germans at Endgame Gear. It's priced right up against the Atlantis, and honestly, whilst the 3370 that's inside it should not beat out the Atlantis, Endgame Gear have showed with their superior Ubermensch genetics that they have delivered better competitive performance with that sensor. Whilst this kind of takes a steaming bratwurst dump in Lamzu's pot of rice noodles for the most part on the full-size Atlantis, this isn't the case for the Mini, which currently has no equivalent, but frankly is probably only a matter of time until it does. If you're in the market right now and want a claw or indeed fingertip shape, you want shockingly good Chinese sweatshop build quality, and you don't want to pay G-Wolves, finalmouse or Razer money for it, then pick up the Lamzu Mini, fund the ongoing Chinese endeavours in global meteorological research, and enjoy a mouse that has easily kung fu chopped its way onto my top mouse list for 2023. I've been Gary, this has been a mouse review apparently, and if you've not liked or subbed at this point, just get out.